Good afternoon, everybody. This is Victor from Agape Infused Oils. Today, I am going to be making some infused oil with Boswellia Carterii, Frankincense from Somalia. Here's a few jars of some infused oils that I've already made. I use sweet almond oil for mine when I make them. My wife has a slight reaction to nuts, so for her, I use the fractionated coconut oil. Here is some frankincense, the Boswellia Sacra species from Oman. This here is some benzoin from Sumatra. Smells real good, has a nice vanilla-ish scent to it. This is some sweet myrrh from Ethiopia, also known as Opopanax. This smells very good as well. Not as woodsy as regular myrrh. And then the Commiphora Myrrha. This is from Oman as well as from the same seller where I get my Boswellia Sacra from. You can see the difference, not too much between the two myrrhs. The sweet myrrh, Opopanax, this particular species is from the Commiphora hopeziana out of Ethiopia. Here is some dragon's blood. Smells very good as well. First time making all of these actually. Made these 2 weeks ago. Decided to do some infused oils for moisturizing for me and make some for my wife as well. Just got tired of buying the manufactured lotions, if you will, the chemicals and all the sulfates and nitrites and phosphates and everything in them. Things that just aren't good to be absorbing into our skin and our bloodstream. This is some sandalwood. As you can see, I've used quite a bit of it. This was 8 ounces. This particular sandalwood I got in powder form from Good Earth Spa, I believe it was, Mubani. This is from India, as I stated. It's the Santalum album sandalwood. You hear my dog whining in the background. You hear some noise. So here's just some examples of the resins that I've used out of all the oils that I've showed you that I make. So here's the benzoin. You can see why it turns out milky white because of the gum resin. Again, this is from Sumatra. Here is the Commiphora Myrrha from Oman. Smells very, very good. Nice, strong, woodsy, musky smell to it. The Commiphora hopeziana from Ethiopia, aka sweet myrrh or Opopanax. This one here is the Boswellia Carterii from Somalia. And then we have a chunk of the Boswellia Sacra from Oman, same place and same seller that I get my regular myrrh from. Between the Carterii and the Sacra, the Carterii to me has a sweeter scent. Very similar tones and notes. Both smell very, very good. Just the Carterii sweeter. My wife likes the Carterii better in terms of the smell. And I kind of agree with her actually. Both actually are excellent, don't get me wrong. You know, to each his own, if you will. Here's a jar that I already had measured out before I started the video with 8 ounces of sweet almond oil. Now when I make my oils, I tend to put half as much resin as there is oil. So in this case, 8 ounces of oil, I did 4 ounces of resin crushed up. Here's an example. So I freeze it, you know, a couple hours, say about 2 hours or so. I found with halfway through making that first batch that I just showed you, I had them room temperature, you know, used a hammer, took them out on the patio, crushed everything really, really well. And the gum tends to stick, obviously, because there's still, you know, some moisture in there, some water in the gum. And then I tried freezing it, as I've seen other people state and do. So, well, not actually do. I've read on a couple blogs where it was suggested that you freeze it. I haven't seen anybody on YouTube actually with any frozen thus far. I'm sure somebody out there has a video, but freezing it definitely makes it break up better, and it's not as sticky. So I already broke some up, poured it in here, and then here's what I had left over. Decided to keep the show for the video, but total amount of resin altogether is 4 ounces. And I'll just pour it in. This is just paraffin wax paper, which I like because it doesn't stick to it as much, you know. And as you can see behind me, I have my jars, my racks, my crock pot, a pot of water, room temperature right now, not on yet. So what I do first is I boil my jars, my lids, my caps and everything, let them dry, and then spray the bottles down with rubbing alcohol. And I use a lint-free microfiber cloth, such as this, to dry them and wipe them down with. So now that we have the oil in here, I'm just gonna stir it up, get the resin, make sure all the resin granules and pieces are coated in oil. This also will get any air pockets out, which we don't want. And even before I start the heat infusion, you can just smell it. So what I do is, once I do this, I take this jar, put the lid on it, and I put it in the water, in the pot, and I turn it on. My stove is electric. Boiling point of water is 212 degrees. My stove would do that at about number 5, 5.5. It goes up to 9 altogether, the highest point on there. So about 5.5. I can get it to boiling. 6, definitely get some good bubbles going. So I don't get it too hot. I just take it to boiling point. I'll let it boil for about 20 minutes. You know, stir up the jar occasionally real good, or should I say shake it up, because once I put the lid on, I don't take it off until I get it out the hot water, just to release some of that pressure. But while it's boiling, you know, I carefully stir it up. You can see I'm getting some of the granules that were stuck on the spoon off of there, because now that the resin has settled to the bottom and not floating, I can let the rest get off of the spoon. So again, I let it boil for about 20 minutes, shaking it up every few minutes. And then once it's done boiling, I put it in my crock pot that you see over there. Now, my crock pot does have the 3 settings for warm, low, and high. My warm settings, according to the candy thermometer that we have in the drawer over there, the warm setting on my crock pot is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The low setting is 125 degrees Fahrenheit, between 125 and 130. I haven't taken the temperature on the high settings because, again, from my research and what I read, you want to keep the water between 100 and 140. It tends to be the consensus out there. So being that mine is roughly 125, 130 ish, it's perfect. So once I get it in the crock pot, I'll do what I did with those first batches that I made. I actually let it sit in the crock pot for 24 to 48 hours. I think half of those bottles that I did for about 24 hours. I think a couple I let go a little longer. The longer you can let it go, the better. Really get that resin and those oils and everything infused. And then once I'm done with that, I've seen various ways that people strain it. You can obviously use a cheesecloth, which is very popular. And the cheesecloth I don't mind using. Man, that smells good already. And that's just been a few minutes you've seen the video. So of course I'm not letting this go to waste. Nor should you. I saw another lady on YouTube. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of the video or anything. It was just me going through dozens and dozens of videos of infused oils. You see a lot out there, more so with herbs. Very few videos on using resins for heat infusion or infusing at all for that matter. Again, I would say 98% of the videos out there are all herbal infused, which is fine. There's some great stuff out there. But in watching one of those herbal infused videos, because I saw the picture at the beginning of the video, I was like, what is that on the jar? Well, one lady had a genius idea of using stockings. So I did the cheesecloth in a couple jars, and then I was at Walmart, remembered the stockings. It's like, hey, let me try that. So found a box, come standard 10, the 2 free, one of those deals. But this box was, I believe, like $5.80. Nothing special, just some regular old nylons. So I put those when it's time to strain. Roll it up, no rubber band needed because of the elasticity is great. And pop it over. And then I pour the oil out and transfer it into one of the other clean jars. I'll squeeze, as much oil as I can out of the resin. Excuse me. And then once I'm done with that, I actually toss it. I don't keep the resin, although I'm sure it can probably be used for another batch. I'm quite sure should be just as strong, if not definitely reusable. So classic ball preserve or mason jars from Walmart. These 16-ounce jars, they were like $9 and some change, around $9 for a dozen. And then the larger 32 ounces, I believe you only get like 9 of those in a case, but they're about the same price, about $10, which is a pretty good deal. So now we got that on there. I do want to show you something in here. Almost forgot. So I seen this on another video, again after I made a couple jars the first time. One of those blue rags, those heavy duty blue rags you saw. We have quite a few of these around the house. So I just put one, fold it up twice, get some good thickness on it, just sit it in the pot so that the jars sit on top of the rag and they're not making direct contact with the stainless steel pot itself and the heat. So I just sit that in there like so. Turn the stove on, and in a couple minutes, about 10 minutes or so, the water be really hot and boiling and doing this thing. And like I said, once it's done being in the pot for about 20 minutes, I put it in the crock pot. The crock pot is already on, so it should be nice and ready to go. Definitely by the time that water's done boiling. Be careful taking your mason jars out and putting them on these cold granite counters. I keep my house at like 73 degrees. So you take something hot like that mason jar and put it on this cold granite countertop, you will crack it, and you will have a problem. You end up having oil all over your kitchen. So be careful not to do that. So I'll have another rag or like the blue drying pad that's underneath the small jars there, that light blue one. I'll sit it on there. Anything to avoid direct contact with this. So if your crock pot also isn't hot enough, if you forget to start it before you start boiling your water, that's okay. I've also taken some of the hot water or boiling water out of the crock pot and mixed it with the faucet water to make it still hot enough that I can just put the jar directly into. You don't want to go from hot to cold, so you definitely want your crock pot heated up and ready to go. So that's pretty much it for this particular video. I appreciate having you. Thanks for joining me, and look forward to making some more videos for you guys. You guys have a good day.